I'm a licensed attorney and I focus on coastal hazards, planning, and sea level rise adaptation legal issues.
I'm a fourth-year PhD graduate student.
I am the Educational Director at Debris Free Oceans.
A Master's of Science student.
I'm an MPS student with Marine Mammal Science.
I'm a PhD student here. I'm in my first year.
Work for Divers Paradise and Shark Research and Conservation Program as a captain/mate.
I'm a graduate student here.
I'm a professor in the Department of Atmospheric Sciences here at the Rosenstiel School.
I'm an MS student for Marine Affairs and Policy Division, specifically working in aquaculture.
I'm currently studying natural hazards and catastrophes.
And I'm a professor at Florida Atlantic University.
Sea level is sort of due to three basic things. One, there is the thermal expansion because the oceans are warming, so warmer water just takes up more space. There's the freshwater flux from melting ice on land. It's only the ice melting on land adds mass to the ocean, so that raises sea level. But then locally, the strength of the Gulf Stream affects sea level locally. So when you have a really strong Gulf Stream, that suppresses sea level along the coast. When you have a weak Gulf Stream, that allows sea level to rise.
And it's something that when it gets going, we can't stop it.
Whether you believe it or you don't, things are happening, and things are happening at a rapid pace.
Totally. It totally worries me, and I think people, maybe it's a defense mechanism. People kind of look at it as a joke, like, oh, the beach is flooding, but really, it's serious.
And I think a lot of the projections that we're seeing now are low on the moderate side, rather than extreme projections, and I think we're pushing extreme boundaries.
So we've essentially guaranteed massive sea level rise.
It's something that we have to have the foresight to do something about instead of kind of just waiting until it happens, because it'll be way too late at that point.
I know the effects being a scientist. What's scarier is that the general public does not know the effects, or they're ignorant because of policies and political reasons.
I think it's really important that the gloom and doom picture that you talk about at 2100 be appropriately cast, and that there's a lot we can do, but that also the sea level rise that we have to deal with the next 15-20 years or so, that's baked in, there's nothing we can do about it, it's going to happen, we have to adapt to that at the same time. Certainly Miami has become more sensitized than the rest of the nation. I think that when I first came here in the late 2000s, Miamians weren't talking enough about it. But I think over the last 5 years or so, it's really become much more topical.
An arm of the United Nations actually rated Miami as the most largest at-risk amount of real estate and assets value in the world.
I feel like this is ground zero. I don't think people worry about it as much as they should that live here, because stuff's going to go underwater and they don't care.
Yeah, if sea level rises, we will definitely lose this beautiful beach and possibly the whole island, so that would suck.
What I'm working on and what I do research on and what I write grants about and educate people about, this is where it really matters, and this is where I feel like I belong, but I just don't want to be a homeowner.
What's going to happen in Miami Beach? I don't know. Are they going to make the roads 10 feet higher and everything's going to be okay? I don't know.
In the next 15 years or 10 years or whatever, 9 to 12 inches is a huge challenge to our infrastructure. It's a big deal.
I do think that Miami will be underwater, and I don't know how long, but I think it's kind of inevitable. My wife and I actually purposely didn't buy a place down here, and we decided to rent because we feel the housing market will collapse at some point. Might not happen the next 5 years, but we don't want to take that risk.
Yeah, very alarmed. I definitely would not recommend buying any property in Miami.
And examining a lot of storm surge, I think in the Miami area, especially if we get another hurricane with the compounded sea level rise, the devastation could be huge, and especially in some of the areas along the coastline throughout Miami-Dade County.
It's really a serious problem, and we're the forefront of it. We actually had an event about 6 months ago, and it was the full moon, and it was a high tide or whatever, and we had a Miami Beach, and when we came out of the event, water was up to literally like below our knees.
I live in Miami Beach, and I'm definitely noticing the effects of sea level rise. I've been noticing that it's been flooding more frequently than it used to around my neighborhood.
And the flooding is more extensive and more damaging.
When we had the king tide, it was flooded by the beach club, and the sewage smell was horrible. I'm already seeing it around Key Biscayne.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It's very valid. I personally am not as worried about it because I'm moving out of this place, trying to get away because people aren't going to care enough fast enough.
Be a great new diving operation and diving site.
I would be even more concerned because my mom's house is in the Florida Keys, so if Miami's underwater, Keys is underwater.
Hopefully I can create a little gondola business and we'll have the best of both worlds.
I think it'd be a very interesting place to live, honestly.
We're looking at more feet in the long term than we're going to be able to adapt to. I don't think we're going to be able to adapt. You start getting beyond 10, 15, 20 feet, it starts to become a very big challenge.
There's a 95% chance that our activities have been producing these changes, that human activities have been producing these changes. And when I think about that, if I was 95% certain that my burning of fossil fuels was making my house catch on fire, would I do something about it? Would I get out? Would I stop burning fossil fuels? And the answer is yes. So even if there's a 5% chance I'm wrong, I still think we really have a responsibility to act because we're 95% certain that human activities are causing the mess we're in now.
Start changing, no pun intended, the tide of generalized thinking within our local government.
I think the biggest challenge for these dense urban areas like Miami and Southeast Florida generally is just going to be getting to a point where they can actually plan longer term and realistically. Because right now what we're essentially doing is we're looking at what's most at risk and what's flooding right now or what's about to flood if it's not already wet. And how do we address that? But that's really not holistic long-term planning for the future.
I think that at one point we're going to have to leave Miami, but I think we can stay here for at least maybe 50 more years. But I think that we have a huge challenge here. I'm hopeful that there could be some new technology and new redesign of Miami, and that maybe we could be like a Venice, but more realistically I think we'll have to leave in 50 years or so.
Thanks.
Negative Ghost Rider.
Can I get like a cut of this, for my reel?